They say money talks, but in Africa, it builds empires, reshapes nations, and carries centuries of legacy. From telecom titans to cement kings, these are the men who define wealth on the continent. This is the countdown of the top 20 richest men in Africa in 2025 and the stories behind their billions. At number 20, Yasin Mansour, the quietest of Egypt's billionaire brothers. Yasin Mansour might be the most discreet member of Egypt's most famous billionaire family, but don't let the silence fool you. He's built an empire of his own. He is part of the Mansour Group, a conglomerate that has shaped Egypt's economy for decades. The family controls franchises for brands like McDonald's, General Motors, Caterpillar, and more. Yasin's particular influence lies in real estate, consumer goods, and investments. He's the chairman of Palm Hills Developments, one of Egypt's top real estate developers, known for crafting upscale residential compounds in Cairo and beyond. Unlike his brothers Mohammed and Youssef, Yasin stays away from media appearances and political appointments. He's rarely seen giving interviews. In fact, little is known about his day-to-day personal life. But sources say he's married, a father, and deeply committed to privacy. What we do know is that he's an avid golf enthusiast and a philanthropist in his own quiet way, funding cancer research, education programs, and food security initiatives across Egypt. Despite the rumors of infighting among the billionaire brothers, they've kept business rolling and wealth growing. The Mansour name remains synonymous with power, and Yasin's strategy of silence seems to work wonders. He has a net worth of $1.2 billion. At number 19, Youssef Mansour, the deal maker who brought big brands to Egyptian shelves. Another cornerstone of the Mansour dynasty, Youssef Mansour plays the pivotal role of global liaison. Born into wealth, Youssef didn't coast. He studied in the United States, returned home, and set out to expand the family's empire with global partnerships. His biggest achievement, bringing Procter & Gamble, L'Oreal, and other Western giants into Egyptian homes. He manages the consumer goods division of the Mansour Group and also helped scale their Metro supermarket chain, which has become one of the largest retail operations in the region. He has a net worth of $1.3 billion. But what makes Youssef interesting isn't just his business acumen, it's his diplomacy. He's the brother who smooths conflicts, forms foreign alliances, and ensures the family legacy remains untarnished. He's known for hosting cross-industry dinners at his opulent Nile-side mansion, where decisions affecting entire sectors are casually made over wine and wagyu. Married and a father of several children, Youssef is deeply invested in succession planning. His eldest son is reportedly being mentored for future leadership. Unlike tech billionaires, Youssef isn't flashy, but he's effective. He's also active in climate-focused initiatives and funds several nonprofits around environmental sustainability in North Africa. At number 18, Christo Wiese, the retail giant who rose, fell, and rose again. Christo Wiese's life reads like a roller coaster of triumphs, scandals, and redemption. A trained lawyer turned retail tycoon, Wiese took a small clothing chain and turned it into ShopRite Holdings, Africa's largest supermarket group, with over 3,000 stores across the continent. But in 2017, disaster struck. His investment in Steinhoff International, once seen as a genius move, turned into a nightmare when the company collapsed under fraud allegations. Wiese lost billions almost overnight, and yet he didn't disappear. Christo began restructuring, selling assets, and suing for damages. Slowly, his fortune began to recover. In 2025, he's back on Forbes' list, a testament to grit and experience. Married with 3 children, Christo has always valued legacy. His son, Jacob Wiese, is now taking a more prominent role in the family's investments. When he's not managing billion-dollar portfolios, Christo retreats to his lush vineyard estate in Stellenbosch, South Africa, where he oversees his wine label and hosts gatherings of political elites and business leaders. He has a net worth of $1.4 billion. Wiese's story isn't just about money, it's about resilience. A reminder that in the game of wealth, even billionaires bleed. At number 17, Othman Benjelloun, the banking monarch of Morocco. At 91 years old, Othman Benjelloun is more than just a billionaire. He's a symbol of Morocco's financial evolution. The son of of a successful entrepreneur, Othman used his inheritance wisely, transforming a small insurance company into one of the most powerful financial institutions in North Africa, BMCE Bank of Africa. Through his holding company FinanceCom, he expanded into over 20 African countries, offering banking services to millions. But his empire doesn't stop at finance. He's invested in telecoms, media, and real estate. Unlike many billionaires of his age, Othman remains active. In public, he's always sharp-suited, soft-spoken, and guarded. But those who know him describe him as intensely detail-oriented, reviewing balance sheets down to the decimal and personally interviewing executives. A deeply private man, he's been married for decades to his wife Layla, and together they raised 2 children. His son Kamal is expected to inherit the reins of the financial empire, although he's yet to fully step into the spotlight. Outside business, Othman is obsessed with architecture and national pride. He famously funded the Bank of Africa Tower in Rabat, the tallest building in all of Africa, a modern-day monument to his legacy. He has a net worth of $1.5 billion. At number 16, Aziz Akinouch, the billionaire politician who balances power and profit. Aziz Akinouch is a name that rings loudly in both the corporate boardrooms and political corridors of Morocco. Born in Tafraout, this self-made mogul rose from the quiet south of the country to become prime minister in 2021. But long before his political rise, Aziz was already running one of Morocco's biggest family-owned businesses, the Aqua Group. Aqua controls major assets in petroleum, chemicals, gas distribution, and even media. And make no mistake, Aziz didn't inherit a gold mine. He took a modest family venture and transformed it into an industrial titan that employs tens of thousands. Yet his dual roles have sparked controversy. Critics argue his political power gives his businesses unfair advantages. He has dismissed such claims, insisting on transparency and economic reform. He has a net worth of $1.6 billion. In his personal life, Aziz is married to Salwa Idrissi Akinouch, one of Morocco's most successful businesswomen herself. She runs the Axel Group, which introduced luxury brands like Zara, Galeries Lafayette, and Dior to Moroccan malls. Together, they form Morocco's ultimate power couple, wealthy, stylish, and highly influential. They have 3 children, all of whom are said to be groomed to inherit parts of the empire, but they remain largely out of the public eye. While he governs the country by day and runs business empires by night, Aziz is also passionate about education and youth employment, investing heavily in training programs and entrepreneurial incubators. At number 15, MoDooji, Africa's youngest billionaire and its most relatable one. Charming, energetic, and impossibly driven, MoDooji is Africa's youngest billionaire. Born in Tanzania, Mo inherited his father's modest business, MTL Group, and turned it into an empire spanning textiles, agriculture, beverages, and logistics. Today, MTL operates in over 10 African countries and employs more than 30,000 people. But Mo's life took a shocking turn in 2018 when he was kidnapped at gunpoint outside his gym in Dar es Salaam. He was held for 10 terrifying days before being released unharmed. That experience changed him. He emerged more spiritual, more security conscious, and more determined to use his fortune for good. Mo is married with 3 children and deeply committed to his Islamic faith. He's known for tweeting motivational quotes and often appears at youth summits and entrepreneurship boot camps across East Africa. His philanthropic foundation supports health, education, and job creation, particularly for underprivileged youth. He has a net worth of $1.8 billion. Despite his massive wealth, Mo still shops locally, avoids over-the-top luxury, and personally reviews staff reports at MTL headquarters. To many Africans, he's not just a billionaire, he's hope in human form. At number 14, Michel Leroux, the billionaire who made banking simple and made billions. Before Michel Leroux founded Capitec Bank, the South African banking system was intimidating, elitist, and largely unfriendly to low-income citizens. In 2001, he launched Capitec with a radical idea: make banking simple, transparent, and accessible to the average person. That idea exploded. Today, Capitec has over 20 million customers and is one of the most profitable banks in Africa. Leroux, though no longer CEO, still owns a significant stake, and that's enough to make him a billionaire many times over. A lawyer by training and a visionary by instinct, Michel avoids the the limelight. No luxury cars, no headlines, no Twitter battles. He lives modestly in Stellenbosch with his wife and family, quietly funding scholarships and financial literacy programs across South Africa. His children remain largely anonymous, though insiders believe at least one of his sons is being groomed to enter the financial sector. He has a net worth of $2 billion. In boardrooms, Rabu is respected for his quiet wisdom. To the public, he's known as the man who made money feel human again. At number 13, Othman Mansour, the minister turned mogul who brought Detroit to Cairo. Othman Mansour's life bridges the public and private sectors, luxury and legacy. Born into the Mansour dynasty, he took the family's business to new heights, becoming one of General Motors' largest global distributors and the face behind Caterpillar's explosive growth in Africa and the Middle East. But he didn't stop at business. Between 2006 and 2009, he served as Egypt's Minister of Transport, a time when he modernized critical infrastructure and faced national crises head-on. He eventually resigned following a tragic train accident, taking full responsibility, and returned to private enterprise with renewed focus. Today, Mohammed is chairman of the Mansour Group, which spans automotive, logistics, finance, and consumer goods. Under his watch, the company has expanded into 100-plus countries, employing more than 60,000 people. He's also a political power broker and global investor. In 2023, he made headlines by becoming a senior treasurer for the UK's Conservative Party, further strengthening ties between Europe and Africa. Mohammed is married with children, and his eldest son is steadily climbing the corporate ladder. Outside work, he enjoys fine art, sailing on the Mediterranean, and mentoring young African entrepreneurs. He represents what many in Africa aspire to be: globally connected, nationally grounded, and unapologetically ambitious. He has a net worth of $2.5 billion. At number 12, Strive Masiwa, the telecom pioneer who built Africa's digital bridge. If there's one man who truly revolutionized connectivity in Africa, it's Strive Masiwa. Born in Zimbabwe and educated in the United Kingdom, Strive returned to a politically unstable country in the early 1990s to start a telecommunications company against all odds. The government blocked him, the courts stalled him, but Strive fought for 5 long years before launching Econet Wireless, a company that would transform the way Africa communicates. From humble beginnings, Econet grew into a pan-African juggernaut. Today, his group operates in over 29 countries and has diversified into fintech, e-learning, energy, and satellite broadband under Cassava Technologies. But what truly sets Strive apart is his humanity. He is one of the most respected philanthropists on the continent. Through the Higher Life Foundation, he and his wife Tsitsi have funded the education of over 250,000 orphaned and underprivileged children. He is also a father of 6 and a man of deep Christian faith, often quoting scripture in interviews. Despite his billions, Strive lives simply. He splits his time between London and Johannesburg and remains one of the very few billionaires who has publicly committed over 90% of his wealth to charitable causes. In boardrooms across the world, his wisdom is sought after. He sat on the boards of Netflix, Unilever, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. In a world of tycoons, Strive Masiwa is a rare breed, a capitalist with a conscience. He has a net worth of $2.7 billion. At number 11, Koos Bekker, the visionary who put Africa on the digital map then cashed out. Very few people in the world have made tens of billions without lifting a shovel or owning a mine. Koos Bekker did it with a single decision, investing in a small Chinese startup called Tencent in the early 2000s. As the CEO of Naspers, South Africa's media powerhouse, Bekker shifted focus from print to tech just in time. He engineered the $34 million investment in Tencent, which is now worth over $100 billion. That move turned Naspers into one of the world's most valuable tech investment companies. Bekker himself doesn't take a salary. Instead, he's paid in stock, which he cashes out every few years. This unorthodox approach made him fabulously wealthy, but it also won him the respect of shareholders. He's married to Karen Roos, a former magazine editor turned luxury hotelier. Together, they own Babylon Storen, a 200-hectare farm and boutique hotel in the Cape Winelands, a haven of peace, where Koos retreats from the chaos of the business world. They have children, but keep their personal lives away from the spotlight. Koos rarely grants interviews and famously refuses to use email female. He has a net worth of $3 billion. Yet his influence is everywhere, from satellite TV in Nigeria to e-commerce in India. He's the wizard behind the curtain of Africa's digital rise, and he prefers it that way. At number 10, Patrice Motsepe, the trailblazer who became Africa's first black billionaire. Patrice Motsepe made history in 2008 when he became the first black African billionaire on the Forbes list. He grew up in apartheid-era South Africa, the son of a small business owner. He studied law, became a mining lawyer, then pivoted into business, buying underperforming gold mines and transforming them through African rainbow minerals. His timing was perfect. Gold prices surged and Motsepe's fortune exploded. But it's not just money that defines Patrice, it's purpose. In 2013, he became the first African to join the Giving Pledge, promising to donate the majority of his wealth to philanthropic causes, alongside Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. Motsepe is married to Dr. Precious Moloi Motsepe, a physician and fashion entrepreneur. Together, they run the Motsepe Foundation, which funds healthcare, education, and sports development across the continent. He is also the owner of Mamelodi Sundowns, one of Africa's most successful football clubs, and currently serves as the president of the Confederation of African Football, CAF, a position that gives him both sporting influence and political weight. He has a net worth of $3 billion. Elegant, soft-spoken, and deeply spiritual, Motsepe commands respect not with loud words, but with quiet, consistent action. At number 9, Nagib Sawiris, the firebrand billionaire who's never afraid to speak his mind. In a world of cautious billionaires, Nagib Sawiris is a thunderstorm. Outspoken, fearless, and unapologetically opinionated, he built his fortune in telecommunications as the founder of Orascom Telecom, which became one of the largest mobile operators in the Middle East and Africa. Under his leadership, Orascom expanded rapidly into markets others feared: Iraq, North Korea, Algeria, Pakistan. He wasn't chasing comfort, he was chasing opportunity. Eventually, the company was acquired by Russian telecom giant VimpelCom in a $6.5 billion deal, making Nagib one of the richest Arabs in history. But money wasn't enough. Nagib turned to media, launching satellite channels that pushed political boundaries and gave voices to Egypt's secular youth. He's also a vocal critic of extremism and an open defender of liberal values in the Arab world. He has a net worth of $5.0 billion. He's married with children and lives between Cairo, Paris, and Gstaad. He's a lover of fine cigars, opera, and skiing, and doesn't shy away from the cameras or Twitter debates. His philanthropic efforts focus on rebuilding churches, restoring cultural sites, and protecting free speech. While his brothers Nassef and Youssef prefer staying quiet and strategic, Nagib is the lion in the arena, roaring, investing, and challenging the status quo. At number 8, Ismael Reeb, the industrialist who fed Algeria and then took on the world. Ismael Reeb is Algeria's richest man and the founder of Cevital, the country's largest privately held company. He was born to humble beginnings in Kabylie, a region known for its proud Berber heritage and fierce independence. Reeb studied accounting before venturing into metallurgy, but his real empire began when he entered the food sector in the 1990s. At a time when Algeria was reeling from civil unrest and food shortages, Reeb saw an opportunity: feed the people. He imported sugar, oil, and foodstuffs, built massive processing plants, and soon became the most important name in Algeria's food supply chain. But he didn't stop there. Cevital now spans steel production, electronics, agribusiness, glass manufacturing, and even owns brands in France and Italy. He's one of the rare African billionaires with major investments in Europe, especially through acquisitions like the French appliance maker Brandt. In 2019, his journey took a dark turn when he was arrested and imprisoned during Algeria's anti-corruption crackdown. He maintained his innocence and was released in 2020, his fortune largely intact. Reeb is a widower, and his 5 children, especially Ismael Reeb, are deeply involved in the business. He's known for championing free markets, entrepreneurship, and economic self-reliance in a country that still leans heavily on the state. He has a net worth of $5.1 billion. For Ismael, said, "It's not just about being rich. It's about proving that Algeria can stand on its own and feed itself." At number 7, Mike Adenuga, the reclusive tycoon behind Nigeria's telecom revolution. In Nigeria, if Aliko Dangote is the king of industry, Mike Adenuga is the emperor of silence and substance. He built his multi-billion-dollar fortune in telecom and oil, quietly outmaneuvering competitors and avoiding public attention like the plague. Adenuga started out selling lace fabric and distributing soft drinks. His big break came in the 1990s when he was granted an oil exploration license. His firm Canoil struck oil and became the first indigenous oil company to produce crude in commercial quantities. Then came his game changer, Globacom. Launched in 2003, Glo broke the monopoly of foreign telecom firms by offering cheaper, faster services. It introduced per-second billing, revolutionized the market, and today boasts over 50 million subscribers in Nigeria and neighboring countries. Despite his success, Mike rarely grants interviews, rarely appears in public, and rarely shares personal details. What we do know, he's a father of at least 7 children, some of whom are already involved in the business, notably Bella Adenuga Disu, a high-profile executive and philanthropist. He lives in a fortress-like mansion in Lagos and is rumored to own multiple private jets and properties in Ghana, Dubai, London, and Atlanta. But he's also one of Nigeria's most generous men, donating to education, disaster relief, and church groups without ever calling a press conference. He has a net worth of $6.7 billion. Adenuga is proof that power doesn't need a spotlight, it just needs results. At number 6, Abdul Rabu, the silent industrial giant who's catching up with Dangote. If you don't know the name Abdul Rabu, it's probably because he wants it that way. But in business circles, he's the quiet juggernaut whose empire is catching up with, and in some areas challenging, Aliko Dangote himself. Rabu is the founder of BUA Group, a diversified company focused on cement, sugar, flour milling, ports, real estate, and recently oil refining. His big break came in the 1990s when he secured government contracts for importing rice and edible oil. But he didn't stop at trading, he started building. Today, BUA Cement is one of the largest cement producers in Nigeria, second only to Dangote's. Unlike many billionaires, Rabu doesn't flaunt his wealth. He rarely grants interviews, avoids controversy, and stays under the radar. But when he acts, the industry notices. In 2023, he launched Africa's first floating cement terminal, and his group is currently building a refinery and petrochemical complex that could rival the Dangote refinery in capacity. He is a devout Muslim, deeply philanthropic, and founded the Abdul Rabu Africa Initiative, ASR Africa, a multi-million-dollar fund for health, education, and security. He has a net worth of $8.1 billion, married with children. His family maintains a low profile. Insiders say his sons are being trained across different sectors of the group to ensure continuity. Rabu isn't chasing fame, he's chasing impact. At number 5, Ivan Glasenberg, the commodities king who rose from a trader to a titan. Ivan Glasenberg built a fortune not on inheritance, not on branding, but through the raw muscle of global commodities trading. Born in South Africa to a Jewish family, Ivan joined a relatively unknown company called Glencore in the 1980s and never left. He climbed the ranks, learned the gritty language of the markets, and eventually became CEO. Under his leadership, Glencore became one of the largest commodity trading companies on the planet, controlling vast portions of the world's copper, zinc, coal, and oil flows. Ivan rarely gives interviews. He despises bureaucracy. He once said, "I don't like meetings. I like results." Now semi-retired, he lives in Switzerland, but remains a major shareholder, earning billions in dividends and equity. He's a fitness freak, running marathons, climbing mountains, and avoiding the billionaire lifestyle of yachts and parties. He has a net worth of $9.3 billion. He's married with 2 children, and although deeply private, his kids are reportedly being educated in elite institutions with a view toward long-term investment management. Glasenberg's story is proof that in the world of business, grit beats glitz. At number 4, Nassef Sawiris, the strategic mind behind global giants, from fertilizers to football. Nassef Sawiris is Egypt's richest man and the most globally connected member of the famous Sawiris dynasty. While his brother Nagib steals headlines, Nassef quietly commands empires from the shadows. He runs OCINV, one of the world's largest producers of nitrogen fertilizers, with plants in the Netherlands, the US, and the Middle East. Fertilizer may not sound glamorous, but it feeds the world, and Nassef has built a fortune on it. But he's not just a fertilizer king. He's a global investor with major holdings in Adidas, where he sits on the supervisory board, and co-owner of Aston Villa Football Club in the English Premier League, one of the fastest rising clubs in Europe. Educated in economics at the University of Chicago, Nassef embodies strategic calm. He rarely appears in the media and avoids politics. He's married with children and divides his time between London, Cairo, and New York. His son, according to insiders, is being gradually introduced into the family's European investment operations. Philanthropically, he's invested millions in education, particularly in business and engineering programs in Egypt and abroad. Nassef may be soft-spoken, but don't mistake that for timidity. He's a global tactician playing chess while others play checkers. He has a net worth $9.5 billion. At number 3, Nikki Oppenheimer, the diamond heir who walked away and chose legacy over power. For decades, the Oppenheimer name was synonymous with diamonds. Nikki Oppenheimer, heir to the De Beers fortune, once controlled up to 40% of the world's diamond supply. But in 2012, Nikki shocked the world by selling the family's stake in De Beers to Anglo American for $5.1 billion in cash. Since then, he's stepped away from industrial business and pivoted to conservation, aviation, and investment. Through his venture firm Stockdale Street and Tana Africa Capital, Nikki funds African startups and builds sustainable businesses. He's also the founder of Fireblade Aviation, an exclusive private terminal in Johannesburg, and owns one of Africa's largest private game reserves, Tswalu Kalahari. Nikki is married to Orkilia Streely Oppenheimer, and they have one son, Jonathan, who now manages many of the family's ventures. Despite their enormous wealth, the Oppenheimers live relatively modestly and are passionate about African heritage and wildlife preservation. He once said, "Africa's prosperity depends not on its minerals, but on its people." Nikki has spent the last decade proving that belief. He has a net worth of $10.5 billion. At number 2, Johan Roupert and family, the quiet watchmaker who controls a world of luxury. Johan Roupert is the man behind Richemont, the Swiss-based luxury goods giant that owns brands like Cartier, Montblanc, IWC, and Piaget. If you've ever worn a luxury watch or opened a designer perfume, chances are Roupert had a hand in it. He took over his father's tobacco and banking empire and transformed it into one of the world's most powerful luxury conglomerates. But Johan's power is subtle. He rarely attends public events, almost never speaks to the media, and avoids politics like a landmine. He lives in Stellenbosch, surrounded by vineyards, golf courses, and a tight circle of elite friends. Despite being South Africa's richest man in several years, he still wears casual polos and drives himself around town. His son, Anton Roupert Jr., is being groomed to take over Richemont, while his daughter is involved in philanthropy and art conservation. Johan is known for his sharp wit, traditional values, and deep concern for South Africa's future. He has a net worth of $15.2 billion. He once warned that growing inequality would burn the country. Whether people agree or not, when Roupert speaks, economies listen. Finally, at number 1, Aliko Dangote, the cement king who's building Africa block by block. Aliko Dangote is not just Africa's richest man, he's its most symbolic. A self-made billionaire from Kano, Nigeria, he started as a small-time trader with a loan from his uncle. Today, he controls Dangote Group, a conglomerate that touches nearly every home in West Africa. From cement, to sugar, to salt, to pasta, and now to oil refining, Dangote has built an empire that fuels Africa's cities and kitchens alike. But his boldest move came in 2023, the launch of the Dangote refinery in Lagos, Africa's largest. It's a $19 billion megastructure designed to end Nigeria's dependence on imported fuel, saving billions annually and creating tens of thousands of jobs. Aliko is known for his obsessive discipline. He works long hours, avoids parties, and doesn't drink alcohol. He was once married married, but is now single and lives a private life in Lagos. He has 3 daughters, all well-educated and gradually stepping into executive roles, particularly Fatima Dangote, who now oversees several subsidiaries. He's also a major philanthropist, funding hospitals, education, and anti-malaria programs through the Dangote Foundation. He has a net worth, $23.9 billion. Aliko's vision goes beyond profit. He wants industrial self-sufficiency for Africa. He's often quoted as saying, "I don't want to be remembered for the money I made, but for the lives I touched." And that is what makes him not just Africa's richest man, but its most influential one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more untold stories of African power,